Toad Intelligence Central is a server that allows Toad DataPoint users to better collaborate with team members and end users. In this video, I want to talk about what's needed to set up Intelligence Central and to publish data and automation scripts. Now, the install media for Intelligence Central is available from support or on Toad World. And when you install Intelligence Central, you have several options. To install the main server, just click on this big install button here. These two others are additional utilities that come with Intelligence Central. But what I really want to point out is this little thing here which says Install Toad DataPoint. Now, this is not mandatory to do, but if you are interested in scheduling automation scripts and running them on the server, this is a requirement. And also it has bundled with it a few ODBC drivers that might be useful to you. So I recommend that you go ahead and install this over on the server. Now once you're done, I suggest that you make sure and test your connection from Toad DataPoint using the root user and the password that you did on installation. So let's take a look at that real quick. So from within Toad DataPoint, you can make a connection by choosing Intelligence Central and putting in the host name and then root and then the password that you gave it during the install. We can worry about registering other users later. First, just check that root works, and that works fine. Good. So let's talk about connectivity for a moment. I often use our Oracle as my main connection, so I'm going to change to that. And let's take a look at the properties of my Oracle connection. Now when you're connected to Oracle, you can use direct connection here, which requires no other files, but that's not going to allow you to publish any data to Toad Intelligence Central. To publish data, you are going to need to have an Oracle client installed. And you also need to have a TNS names file, such as we have at this button, that defines all of your connections. This combination of like client and definitions is pretty common for most connections. So when you publish data to Toad Intelligence Central, you're going to have a choice to publish a data set, a view, or a snapshot. Now let's take a look at that. I am connected to Oracle right now. I've executed a SQL statement and I want to publish this data. Now I can right click on it and say send to publish data. And here I have a choice. I can publish it as a data set. Now when I do that, all I'm doing is creating a table over in Toad Intelligence Central and inserting the rows. But if I want to do a view, I need to define the connection over on the server, and when we access that, we're actually going to connect and query the data. So I have to have things set up over there. Same is true for a snapshot. A snapshot is a combination of a view and a data set, so it's a refreshable data set. So in order to create a view or a snapshot in Toad Intelligence Central, you're going to need all the connectivity elements that you have here on the client over on the server. Alright, well let's take a look at that for a second. If you go over here to this authentication page, you'll see that we're including this information in our publishing. And as we publish it, we now have a view. But it did define a connection over there. So over on the server, there is, on this server anyway, there's already a OCI client, and there is now stored the ability to connect to that server and retrieve the data. Now what happens if you don't have that? Let's go back and do an example of a server that doesn't have the client installed. Let's change this to a different server and we'll execute this. So right away we're going to see an error. It knows that over on the server that there's no Oracle client installed, and it tells you that you need to get it installed. Now you can use an instant client, but I need to express that we're actually using on the server an ODBC connection. So we're actually defining an ODBC connection over on the server. So you need ODBC driver installed over there also. Use a full client, or if you want to use a instant client, that's fine too. Just install the ODBC drivers alongside of that, and that will be fine. Alright, so that server's not set up. You'd have to get that one set up. Now there's some other items I want to show you. Most connections kind of work the same way, but let's look at ODBC as a connectivity type. Let's look at my properties here. This happens to be a Vertica, and I have defined on the server this local client. Okay, sorry, a connection. This is my DSN Vertica 7.1, and this is already installed with a driver, and everything's connected properly. Now, if I go and try to publish a view, let's go back to this server here. I have it configured over there, but it's looking for the exact same name DSN, and it doesn't happen to be named exactly the same way. So I get an error. ODBC driver returned an error. Data source not found. With this, I probably would go over and remote desktop. This is a remote desktop to the server over there. And I would debug my connections by actually connecting over here on the server. And in this particular case, we can go in and see, let's see, system DSN. Here, I do actually have a DSN, but if you notice there's a space in it, so it's not exactly the same. So your DSN for ODBC connections need to be defined exactly the same way here as they are over here. Easy enough to fix once you know what you're looking for.